That ain't working, that's the way you do it. Kirblog's for nothing and the clicks for free. Hey everybody, we're wrapping up March. It's been a very, very good month. Super productive. Very proud of all the Kirblogs that I've done. And it's been a just solid all-around positive month. I'm very, very satisfied. And thank everybody for, tuning in and hopefully enjoying and getting something out of all these particular, hopefully informative topics that I've been doing for quite a while now. 2016 has been off to a generally very good start. I do want to get into, because I'm planning on doing another themed month for April, which I'll be talking about very soon. Not right now, but I wanted to end before that with a relatively serious topic. I got this semi-recently over Tumblr from an anonymous questioner, which reads, "Hey, I have a Kirblog suggestion that I thought I could try to give, although if you were to do it, I'd really like to be mentioned as anonymous for safety reasons," which is totally fine, so no worries. "Over the past week and a half, I've been dealing with drama from someone who I blocked as they came off a bit rude or pushy at times and made me feel uncomfortable. They sent me some messages saying that they wanted to talk things out, but later sent lots of angry rants and lots of threats after that, which scared me a lot. They used their mental illness to manipulate and make people feel sorry, which I often would fall for and still do at times. I feel that I often think to one extreme or another, that they are to be pitied and I should feel guilty for standing up for myself, or that I let it make me angry and become bitter. Sorry if this is not something I should be sharing, but you've had Kirblogs mentioning past experiences that have helped me a lot, and I wondered if I could ask. Thank you." Well, thank you, anonymous contributor, for asking me to address this. I think I might have linked this to you in my private response to you, but I will put this out here as well for anybody listening that might be getting something out of this topic as well. Before continuing further, I often do link to other Kirblog topics as a suggestion, but this is one that I definitely recommend you listen to if you've not heard it before. I made a Kirblog 2 whole years ago, over 2 years ago now, called The Internet, Privacy and Freedom of Speech. This one was more about kind of the general harsh reality of how much actual privacy that we have and how we can choose to utilize our freedom of speech online. It's sort of about learning what the unspoken sort of rules of the internet works when it comes to this subject. It features a lot of important things that I learned over the last decade or so when it comes to the matter. Now, this particular subject I'm going to go over today is a lot more about the, the actual social side of things and, how we can utilize that and what we can learn, from the experiences that we have like that. So I'll start with addressing your actual question first. There's kind of 2 sides to this that I'm going to tackle for it. So first and foremost, it always comes down to your choice. You have a choice on exactly what you can do. It really can be as black and white, especially if this person is not necessarily like a friend or a close friend or somebody that you know super personally. They're just someone that you are talking to through whatever circumstance, etc. You have the right to talk to and not talk to, and be talked to and not be talked to by anybody that you want, especially on the internet. In real life, it's a little bit different because of just, how life can be. But on the internet, you do not have to tolerate any kind of aggressive or inappropriate behavior or any guilt tripping whatsoever. I guess, as always, I should preface, I have repeated many of these things on many past Kirblogs, so I apologize for, speaking ad nauseum about many things, but, it's really not okay in my book to use what I consider to be, some sort of, handicap or a disability or mental illness or whatever, depending on the person, as a crutch. I think that is, no matter what it is, if you're self-aware of what your, limitations or your issues are, using them in a manipulative manner is absolutely not okay at all. There's a time and place for, hey, so I have this issue, and so just, be aware of this because of, circumstance A, B, or C, completely. Like that's perfectly acceptable. Using it for a selfish purpose in that kind of way, especially to, bring any kind of harm, to any extent, including just harassment, not physical harm or, real emotional harm, but even just, bothering somebody, it's not okay. So what this person is doing to you from what the description is not okay, and you do not have to tolerate it. Now, I've been in similar positions of many kinds, both with people who I don't know personally and actually people who I do know personally and consider to be friends. What I mean by that is, like, I've been in a position where I feel either, upset about whatever is being said to me, or I'm even, feeling somewhat depressed or bullied or like picked on or, or made to feel alienated, any combination of those things. And I'll often feel guilty or, like, oh, it's not the right thing for me to lash out back and stand up for myself, quote unquote, or to be upset in the first place. I know exactly what that feels like. It definitely depends on what the case is, but I think that, whether you who asked this, know this person personally or otherwise, or if it's just somebody, again, that, like, talking to you through circumstance and they're, trying to use you, for whatever their purpose is, and they're self-aware that, they're doing this, you're a human being, and you are entitled to the same rights of any other human being that any other human being should be entitled to. So if you just flat out don't want to deal anymore, you don't have to. You don't have to deal with this person. And, now granted, this also ties in a little bit with what I talked about on the, privacy and freedom of speech topic, but, there are obviously, as they've been finding, there are more ways to, to get under your skin and to contact you and to, try to, continue what it is that they want to do. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but, you have plenty of resources to, literally and figuratively block that out of your life if you don't want to. I've been on the receiving end where, I've had friendships that have just ended out of nowhere in the blink of a fucking eye. And in some cases because it's something that I've done wrong that I'm completely deserving of. In some cases where just the person doesn't care and they're, not required to under any circumstance because it's their life and it's their choice. And that position applies to you, and that person has to live with that. And they can be upset. They're also entitled to be upset and disappointed or feeling unjust about it, but it doesn't matter because the right is still yours. You can choose to just be like, okay, I don't want to give this person the time of day. I think that I'm being manipulated. I think I'm being treated badly. I think that they're, whining like a little fucking child and being a brat about it and, trying to manipulate me. And I don't have to stand for that. I as in you. And so therefore, if, you can work up the courage and the fortitude to make that decision if necessary, obviously you are free to handle it in whatever way that you want. But if you're feeling, a little worried or afraid to handle it in that way, all I'll say is don't be. Don't be, because there is nothing holding you back but you. This person can't hold you back. They can't have any fucking power over you whatsoever. It is entirely your choice. So, and even though that choice might be difficult because of, what it is that you're experiencing, which is, perfectly understandable, it's still the choice that you have to make. It's your decision. And if you think that you should make it because you think that that's what would be best for you and your life and your sanity and your privacy and everything, then absolutely please go for it. You shouldn't feel guilty or pressured for any of this. And also, you shouldn't feel bad for asking for help either. And I do hope that this part of the topic is able to help you. So I hope that, you make whatever decision you feel is best for you, given the circumstance and given the context and what this person is to you, if they mean anything to you and how much they might mean to you, depending. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, that said, I'm also going to use this particular topic as a platform to talk about the other side of things, the position that the person who is doing this is on. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be as extreme of a case as, as the case that has been presented, I sound like I'm in a fucking courtroom already, of the person who asked about this. The person that they're talking about, that the questioner is talking about, is someone who is sending, threats and being very aggressive and, and pushy, etc. It doesn't necessarily have to be that far. That is a case where it sounds like they're going way farther than is necessary, and that's not okay. But there are similar types of things that all of us as people are capable of doing that are not, while not quite to the same extreme as what this person is doing in question, this problem child here, but they can still be causing a lot of the same problems in the long run. In my topic about privacy and freedom of speech, I talked about how, we have the right to say anything that we want, and we have the ability to do it in whatever way that we want, etc. And there's a difference between, being tactful and like respectful and, being, going over the line, etc. kind of thing, But there's also there's a fine line between that and also having self-control over what may or may not be an obsession. In the case of this person, the questioner's talking about, again, this is a matter of they sound to me like they're stalking. And, that is one of the most common cases I find, is that, when we're obsessed with a particular thing or a person or an ideal or, a place or an object or whatever it is, whatever the subject is, the subject of the obsession that is, then, by any means necessary, we go further to a very extreme extent. I think I talked a little bit about this as well. Where like, it just gives excuses for people to, hack into websites and find out things, and people to make ad blockers because they're driven by their obsessions, which is to learn more about a thing that they want to know more about because that's what they're fixated on for whatever reason, right? That's the mostly harmless or, potentially harmless side of that, or, an extreme of that. The actual extreme is when it is at the invasion of people's privacy, or at the, the harassment of those people, or, just causing any kind of harm to them, typically emotional, because you can't physically hurt somebody over the internet, and that's what we're talking about here. And I'm not going to go into that part because that's a whole other animal that I'm not ready to be even tackling at any point in time. I'm zero authority on that. Not that I'm authority on this either, but I have a lot of experiences. Actually, I'll say flat out, on both sides of this question. I have been definitely not to the extreme. I would say not to the extreme as this person in question. But I've been in the position of, going too far with, the ability that you have on the internet. And again, that's what comes down to tact and, and the sense of privacy and how you can utilize the privacy that you have on the internet and the lack thereof in some cases. I described it earlier as self-control. You have to, of course, by definition, you have to be the one to get a grip on yourself and realize if what it is that you're doing is, for the right reasons. And even if it is, justified in your head as, being for the right reasons, is it still the right thing to be doing in the first place? Is it the best thing for yourself? Is it the best thing for, potentially if there are other people involved, which very often there are, is it the best thing for them? Is it going to cause them any kind of distress or whatever? And if any harm could be brought to them in any way whatsoever as a result of that, as a direct result of what it is that you're doing, that you have the ability to be doing, then you need to stop and realize that it's not the right thing to do. And it's not, for the right reasons, not necessarily. But more so if it's not the right thing to be doing, whether it's justified in your head or not, you have to realize that. You have to get a grip on yourself and take control of what it is that you're doing so that you're not causing a problem. A lot of this comes down to the inherent harsh realities that I was describing in the privacy versus freedom of speech Kirblog about just, this is how the internet is. Everything you say and do is just archived, digitally in some way, shape, or form, somewhere, somehow on the internet forever, and somehow people will find a way to get access to it. And you have to protect yourself in whatever way that you possibly can. But that said, if you're on the opposite end of that, of, there's somebody who is protecting yourself and you're invading their protection or attempting to in some way, there's a time and a place for everything. It's like, and say your justification, just for example, is because you feel that you were wronged by that person who is now not giving you the time of day, right? And that is, protecting themselves or shielding themselves or just not even allowing you to speak your piece, right? Or to speak your mind on something that you feel you've been wronged for. Then there are many different options that you have. You can, If it's something that's incredibly dire, I'll start with the extreme first. If it's something incredibly dire, then, you get the law involved. That's typically the most cerebral and intelligent, and I would say fairest way to go about things. Like, objectively. Now, that said, it's also a very complicated way to go about things, and that's, I think, why many people don't often resort to that, but it is an option. The kind of middle ground between that and the most extreme is, just attempting as civilly as possible, without going over the line, to be like, hey, this is a confrontation that I feel is justified for these reasons that I will state, and you go about that in the most appropriate way you possibly can, and in a way that you feel, if you need to confront somebody over something that you feel is justified, like truly justified as objectively as you possibly can, then you do also have the right to, try and confront them about them. But the ability to confront them is, that might be limited depending on, what it is that you have access to. So you utilize, whatever method of contact that you have, with the person in question, and go about it as professionally and as maturely as you possibly can, to address exactly what it is that the issue, can be. And the less you make it into a fight or a war or an argument or a screaming match or whatever, any negative connotation type of thing, then the better off you're going to be, and the better result that you might get. Even if it winds up being just, that's the end of it, it's still a better result than just like it turns into nothing. The last and most extreme option is simply just doing nothing and letting it go. Now, that is difficult because often if we feel, justified or, wronged or whatever, from our position, we want to do something about it. We want to fight our fight. We want to, change things in a way that we feel is going to benefit us for the better because we feel that we deserve it or whatever. But again, when it comes down to ability, if you just don't have anything that you can do about it necessarily, then, sometimes the best solution can be to just like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Whatever. There's nothing I can do about it. They don't want to give me the time of day for, this and that reason, for their reasons that may or may not be justified. Then that's it. That's the end of it. That's the book closed. And that can be hard to deal with because sometimes that involves like you can hold on to grudges and bitterness and things like that related for a very long time. And it can be hard to contend with that, but that can also just be something that is part of life. That even in and of itself can be a learning experience. And that is, part of how life can go sometimes. And it's not always fair. It's not always justified, but all you can do is be as fair and adult about it as you possibly can. Both sides of this type of situation. Again, my explanation to that is not any kind of justification to what the person who was bothering the one who made this question at all. But I'm saying that, as someone who has been in something akin to that position before, and I've been also in the position of the person who asked the question before as well, I felt that it was important and worth talking about both sides. What you can do, what you can't do, what you should consider doing, and what you should consider maybe not doing. And as you get older, you're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to learn what works best and what doesn't, and what, is a smart decision, what is tactful, what is respectful, and, when the call to, if you need to get more aggressive or justified or not, or justified, that is, and what isn't justified, and what you shouldn't be doing, etc. And you'll learn from both the good and bad decisions that you make. I certainly think I have. But yeah, there's a million other different, black, white, and gray levels of examples I could give on both sides of this type of situation. But those are a couple that I wanted to provide that I thought would make the most sense. Maybe I could even, do further examples of this in the future someday. But I hope that this covers the question as much as possible to anonymous contributor who asked it. Maybe even if the person who was bothering them was asking, happens to be listening to this, maybe that might even help them to figure things out and, readjust what it is that they're doing. But yeah, so that's going to wrap us up. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope you've all been enjoying. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from these more advice-oriented Kirblogs for a little while. Not that I haven't been enjoying them, but I'm going to be doing a themed month for the month of April, which I'll be announcing in just a couple days. But in the meantime, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts about this. Please share me your stories if you have any other examples like this that are worth talking about. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, and have some further information to help anybody else that might be in any kind of similar situations. Both positions to be. And if you have future Kirblog topic suggestions, leave a comment about that. I'll be taking some for what the themed month is very soon, so keep an eye out for an announcement video about that. And in the meantime, thank you all for listening. I really, really, truly appreciate it as always, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.